All right, I'll just test 1, 2, 3. Tez, can you hear us?
Taz, hello. And I posted this in the Taz Discord as well.
Oh. All right, I'll just test 1, 2, 3. Tez. Okay, I can hear myself anyway.
Cool. Cool. Awesome. I'm pretty good. How about you, Abby? Cool.
Hey. I missed the window to get to EB Games to pick up Kingdom Hearts 3, so a little bit miffed about that, but whatever.
Looks like we're all in the same boat. Just sitting around like, I could be playing Kingdom Hearts, but...
Luckily, I never got on the Kingdom Hearts. Well, not to say that I didn't. I gave the first a go. I just never finished it, so...
Dude,
yeah.
I love that. Like, awful lore. Apparently, Arby, I'm getting things spammed with you're muted. You can hear no, but you're muted.
No, I just fixed that. I saw that and got on that. But yeah, dude, I'm single player games. I got too many in my backlog, and as amazing as that game is, I haven't got time for that right now. It'll take too much time.
You've got to have time for like 80 hours of previous games too. It's the thing.
Yeah. Like it's also like a previous commitment.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be brought up on all that Final Fantasy. So
the thing is, what have you guys played? You guys have obviously played 1 and 2, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
and all the little.
I was in Japan when 1 came out, and I was like, exchange, and my host brother was playing it, so I had to watch him play it in Japanese, and I understood absolutely nothing about the game, other than like you had Daffy and Goofy. I tell you what, Daffy and Goofy sound so retarded in Japanese.
They sound so strange.
Like in English, they already sound kind of like silly, but in Japanese, oh man, like they really put it on.
The thing is for me that I think the Kingdom Hearts plot is so like messed up that playing it in Japanese wouldn't even make you necessarily understand it any worse.
Yeah, I've been watching a few friends like restream the initial ones just to get back on track, and I'm like, every time I'm like, what is going on here? It's like it seems, I don't know, maybe just from an outside perspective and tuning in every like half hour, kind of hard to follow, but I don't know. Yeah.
I feel that.
But yeah, I'll check it out one day. Just not now. My backlog is too fierce.
And you're of course practicing for TFC.
100%. Got to defend that Tekken title. Got a few more heavy hitters coming around this time, from what I'm aware, but still keen on.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you reckon we're gonna get Daniel or anyone down?
From memory, you know, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Brown Man. He's a commentator on the Melbourne side, but still, like,
yep.
I'd easily put him as a top 10 player in Melbourne. Yeah, he's confirmed. Also, DreadTech. I have to double check who else is confirmed from the Melbourne side of things, but yeah, a few other guys as well.
Cool.
I've got so many games I need to defend my title from. Since Yusuke went back to Japan, like based on the results, I'd be #1 in that tournament for Dragon Ball. I have to defend Blaze Blue. Well, basically, Soul Calibur no one's played yet, but I have to defend that as well.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to playing you in Soul Calibur down here, Runaes.
Yeah.
Well, on that Dragon Ball note, just be aware, Runaes. I have my spark has been resurgent after like the finals and whatnot. So yeah, you have a little bit.
Don't forget, 2 new characters have come out, so my team may not be the same.
Are you going to be playing Videl?
Possibly.
I'm not touching Videl, strictly on the fact that I hate and loathe with all my heart the Great Saiyaman. So I want nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel that I am playing Videl just so that I can bring the Great Saiyaman in against you, and then like do all the corniest poses.
Oh god, that actually might hurt me during a tournament performance.
I feel like everyone has like 2 stances on Saiyaman. They either love him or they hate him.
Yeah, it's there's no in between.
If there's a taunt, I am going to taunt the hell with that character just for the shits and giggles.
I really hope it'd be good to get the Tassie scene for DBFZ's kind of gone off the deep end a little bit lately, so it'll be really good to see in the like lead up for TFC how people start to practice again. I'd be really keen to see like Sweeb and we had Lim who was super good at DBFZ. It'd be good to see them like putting work into that game again.
Well, it's only like 2 days before we figure out what those 2 new characters do.
Oh yeah, the release is this Thursday or
this Thursday, yeah.
Thursday. Really looking forward to that.
I really like that trend in fighting games recently, where instead of having this like big build up to DLC characters or like putting off releases and that kind of thing and hyping it up, they like announce characters and then release them like a day or 2 or 3 later.
Yeah, like that's why
or even
I think
like a week.
That's what I've mentioned this a few times, but I think for the Soul Calibur DLC, you're going to have an announcement after Top 8 at EVO Japan, and then that patch cycle, you're going to have a release. So it's going to be like Sunday when the Top 8 happens. After the Top 8, they'll announce the DLC character. Everyone says it's going to be Cass and Amy. I'm not so sure about that based on what I'm looking at those leaks.
Those like secret files, like Stone and such. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, not those. So the previous ones, it said Cassandra and Amy, and it had like DLC 2, DLC 3.
Yep.
Now, I actually took a double look at those files.
Yep.
The way those files are structured is you have a character name, you had like a generic universal ID, a GUID, and then it had a Japanese character. That Japanese character was kind of like a nickname for that character. So, for example, you had Safatia. Her kanji was mother.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yoshimitsu, kanji was the manji character. Nightmare, the kanji for evil. 2B, it didn't actually have a character, but it was just 2B. It didn't say DLC, it just said 2B. And then you had both Cass and Amy said DLC. Like, that doesn't make sense. Not to mention, like, you had characters like Lesser Lizardman.
Yeah. I would be very surprised if we don't see Aeon or some kind of variant on that.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, you probably will, but I'm just not sold on Cass and Amy being guaranteed for the next DLC.
Yeah, because I'm not sold on them being guaranteed either. I think it'll be really interesting to see too. I feel like they've learned from that like
DBFZ.
Sorry? Yeah, they've learned from like releasing 2B and seeing what other fighting games like Street Fighter and DBFZ are doing with their DLC releases, and they're probably going to try and emulate something similar. I feel like it really drives the sales too. Like if you've got weeks to prepare, you can sit there and go, "Oh, I want it. Do I need it? Will I really play it?" Compared to like Kage's out, and you're like, "I will probably never play him, but I want him. Like I need this right now." You get that?
Yeah, like
really
if you give the huge like hype and like people are thinking, "Oh, do I want this character? Do I not want this character?" They'll eventually be like, yeah, no, I can go without them. And then, but if you like do like for example the whole Videl and Jiren, I mean, you kind of knew that they were coming, but like it's like they're announced and then they're released. It's like, well, crap. Like I don't really have the time to really think about it, but I want to like try it out immediately.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, damn, this looks sick. Everyone else is playing this character. I need him.
On the subject of before we continue with more FGC content and DLC characters, let's give the viewers a little bit of background on you two guys. Starting with Athorell, just how you entered the FGC, what games you play. Give them a bit of a rundown.
Right. I used to play a hell of a lot of Soul Calibur a very, very long time ago when a guy named Ron Carmichael was Tasmania's TO.
Yep.
And then came back to the FGC with Tekken after sort of dabbling. I used to be the TO for Smash Brothers in Tasmania for a very, very long time. Probably shouldn't admit that on an FGC podcast.
That's fine, dude. We're all about everything on this podcast. I actually did not know that, so yeah. Because when I sorry to cut you short, when I signed up for TFC, I saw you signed up for Ultimate. I didn't know if that was like a new thing or like.
No. So when Smash 4 came out, Tasmania didn't really have a fighting game community at all. We kind of just had like a couple of little locals and 2 or 3 people who played, and I started organizing tournaments for that when I was working for a business named Area 52.
Yep.
Which usually will host or sponsor TFC every year.
Oh wow, you worked for them.
Same this year, so yeah, I was working for them like as a they sell comic books and miniatures and all that kind of nerd stuff.
Nice.
And I was working for them and basically convinced the owner that there was some profit to be had in putting TVs in the venue and buying console setups and running tournaments through that.
Yep.
And then I would, as part of my job, TO, which was a really nice deal because I got paid to TO, which is something I don't think many TOs have the luxury of.
Like 95, pretty much 99%, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I did that for a very long time. And went over to Japan and played some fighting games over there. And then when Tekken 7 came out, I got hella into it with my housemate, Sweeb, who's one of the better fighting game players down here. Or used to be, don't know how much he's playing now. And then, yeah, sort of middle of the pack, Tekken 7 for a little while, and then put a lot of effort into the game and got pretty consistently good. And for a long time now, in pretty much all the 3D games, have been I think it's probably not bragging to say the best Tassie player. And I also tend to dabble in like anime and Smash a bit. I really want to get good at Unist, I think. I think that's going to be the next one.
All right, cheers for that intro. Runaes, give us a rundown of yourself.
Okay, so I got into fighting games with Soul Calibur 2. Like, I never actually played much Street Fighter. Like, I had it, I played it a bit, but never really liked it that much. But when I went to Japan, I was out in the country. There was bugger all to do, but there was a local game arcade, and the Soul Calibur 2 machine was reasonably cheap. So I spent most days after school down at that arcade playing Soul Calibur 2. Just against AI, because there wasn't really a big scene there, so I didn't really have anyone to play against. But Soul Calibur 2 had the campaign mode, where you like picked your character and like you could go on like this campaign where you're like trying to capture ground or whatnot. Mm-hmm. It was kind of interesting, like for the time. And
I played a hell of a lot of that.
Oh, it was so great. So that's how I kind of got into fighting games, and then never really met the actual FGC scene in Sydney until Soul Calibur 4.
Yep.
Because I just played Soul Calibur 2, like, as I said, at the local thing. I played it when I got back to Australia. I played it with some friends from school at an arcade every now and then. But it wasn't until Soul Calibur 4 where I actually started joining the FGC scene. And that was in Sydney with LG Infinite, Bailey, and Davo87. Those were the 3 big names from the Soul Calibur scene back then. Mm-hmm. Davo's still pretty big in Hong Kong. Like he left Sydney to go work in Hong Kong, and keeps saying he's going to come back, but he never has. But yeah, that's where I first got into the FGC, and then playing Soul Calibur 4 with these guys. Every now and then, someone would bring out another game. Like I played a bit of Street Fighter 4 because someone would bring that, and like I dabbled in it a little bit. Then someone brought BlazBlue along, and I quite liked that game. Like it was kind of fun, and I kind of got into the anime scene from Soul Calibur.
Interesting.
I feel like I almost did the opposite. Like I used to be pretty into BlazBlue and that kind of thing, and then ended up getting into 3D fighters afterward. Yeah.
No, well, yeah, like I played Guilty Gear. I had Guilty Gear. Because obviously we've had like pirate games, like where, well, I wouldn't say pirate.
Yeah.
Games that are exceedingly cheap. Put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I had a whole bunch of like fighting games that were really cheap on my PlayStation, because in Australia, like we got a lot of games late, and you couldn't really get most games, so you had to modify the PlayStation to play all regions, and
Yep.
I just had a whole bunch of other games. Like I had Guilty Gear, I played it a little bit, but never really got heavy into it. So Soul Calibur was the first fighting game I got into. 4 was when I first joined the FGC, and BlazBlue was my entry into anime. So I'm considered one of the anime crew, even though I'm actually a Soul Calibur player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see, just to throw us at a rail, but I think it's really interesting to see how in Australia and a lot of these smaller scenes, how people tend to multi-game much harder.
Oh yeah. Because like the scenes are a lot smaller, so like if you want to get games against people, like you're either playing against a lot of the same people quite often, or like you have to like try a different game and then find out different people, and then you kind of like, because if you get too good at a game, like it does get a bit boring.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like that's the case. Yeah, there is, at least with a lot of the people I know within, well, even just the Melbourne FGC, there is a lot of crossover with a lot of games.
I think it's this kind of dynamic as well, where like, if you're in a bigger scene, if you're in an American scale scene or a Japanese scale scene, and you're like playing, you're just solo gaming, or like you have your main game and then a couple of off games, the competition in that main game is often going to be a lot stronger. And because it's so much stronger, like Runaes was saying, if you get a bit too good at a game, it can get a bit boring. But like in these bigger scenes, there's always someone pushing up from the bottom or pushing down from the top. So you've got that real kind of pressure to get better, which means it's much easier to focus in on single titles.
Yeah, it's probably not like a hard fast rule, but you do tend to see like in those big scenes, the top players in their respective games don't really cross over as much. Like, I know I'm just bringing out.
Well,
notable exceptions in 2D though. I think 2D.
I was gonna pick out Taquito.
Because,
okay, so Taquito is amazing at a lot of games, but something you have to realize is Taquito actually doesn't go out to locals very often. Taquito gets all that experience playing online, and that's something that we don't really get down here because our infrastructure is so bad that like getting an online game is usually like kind of poor, laggy, or not very good. So you kind of need to go to those locals to actually get decent games. And that's one of the things that a lot of these you find with American or Japanese is some of the really good players are online warriors because the online scene is A, strong, B, the connection isn't absolute trash.
Yeah, like we have to suffer within Australia.
Yeah, like Glaciated, one of the big American Tekken players who came out to one of the Red Bull events and came very close to winning it. I think he's a perfect example of that. Like, if you played Tekken online over there or watched streams or anything, you knew who he was, but he didn't go to any events.
Yeah.
And you can't really get that in Oz.
Yeah. So leading on that, I posted this earlier because I knew that this topic was going to come up, but the NBN availability per state.
Yeah.
2017, New South Wales has gone from 53% to 57%. Tasmania, on the other hand, almost had 100% in 2017, and now they're like 1% of the state doesn't have the NBN.
Yeah, we've got the vast benefit of being small.
It's funny because the biggest cities in Australia are the ones with the poor growth when it comes to New South Wales and Victoria.
I really wonder like when or if something will get done about that. It would be wonderfully good if something could be done about that, and we can actually get like proper internet infrastructure and have like, I wonder how that will affect our local scenes as well. I wonder if you'll see a lot more like interplay and like Australian esports becoming a little bit more of a stronger scene on a global scale.
Anyway, I did want to bring up a bit of Soul Calibur today. As some OG Soul Caliburs, the anticipation for 6 must have been real for you guys. I mean, what was the time frame between the release of 5, how long it had been out, and 6? Quite a few years.
It was like 4 years or something.
Yeah.
It was quite a dry spell.
Was it only 4 years?
Well, it might have been longer actually. I need to look up like when 5 5 was released.
I'm gonna do that right now. But yeah, I feel like that kind
2012.
of
So 6 years. Sorry, 7 years. Oh, 6 years. 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years came out last year. But yeah, that kind of waiting period, I feel like, I don't know, it's just killer. Like when you're playing a game like that, when they announced Soul Calibur, when they announced Soul Calibur 6, I was on the edge of my seat. I was like running around the room like Arby getting scared by Resident Evil. I was off the seat and out the door, just yelling at anyone who would listen, just like.
Do you remember like at what event, if it was an event that announcement was made?
I know what event I heard about it, and it wasn't the same events that you would have been at because I heard about it way before it got announced.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah. So Yusuf is very tight with the Namco guys, and they told him straight up Soul Calibur's coming, and he's like, "Yo, Runaes, you're gonna be happy. Soul Calibur's getting made." And I'm like, "What?"
You were on one of those big Namco streams, weren't you? Before the game got announced, like you got the pre-release. Yeah. So both Borgie and I were like informed well in advance, and then they were gonna do like a pre-release stream, and like Yusuf got that set up, and then he asked if we could invite anyone. Like I tried getting some people around, and then I asked Borgie Man from Melbourne, and he's like because it was like basically the next day. He asked for time off immediately and booked his flight that day to come to come over.
I can
just
imagine.
For that.
I can imagine.
Like that's how hyped we were for the game.
Yeah, I can imagine because Soul Calibur obviously like good game in its own right, but doesn't have the mass appeal that like games like Street Fighter, Tekken. So I don't know if you guys were holding out hope for like a new release or not, but that news just must have been amazing.
I always kind of wanted a new release, but I wasn't really like it's going to come.
Yeah.
I was hanging out for it a little bit. When I was playing Tekken 7 and that kind of thing and starting to get good at that game, I was always just like waiting for Soul Calibur, thinking about like, will they make another Soul Calibur game, like different 3D fighter? And I feel like it's that kind of game as well where it like Soul Calibur, because it's a bit more niche and because of the flavor of the game, it has a lot of personality, and like people who are fans of Soul Calibur tend to be very strong fans of Soul Calibur. Like there's a lot of fond memories with it because of stuff like the single player that Runaes was mentioning earlier. A lot of people who weren't necessarily part of like big fighting game scenes or weren't even necessarily like fighting game players still have very positive memories of Soul Calibur because of like playing it as a kid or playing it growing up, that kind of thing.
Oh, but the thing is, Soul Calibur's characters have character. All of them. Sure. Like, all of them are very unique, very, like, distinct.
100%.
I think it's one of the games that also has that best, like, there's a really strong connection between the characters' visual language, how they move, how they speak, all that kind of thing, and how they play.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Like, everything is very deliberate.
Yeah, you can look at a character and like two characters who use similar weapons, like Nightmare and Siegfried, or like Keelik and Songmina, and just based on the way the character is presented, you can have at least a little bit of an idea of how they differ. Yeah, I think that's one thing that like really, really brought me into the game and made me like a massive fan of it and made me want to keep coming back to it, and made me in particular hang out for a new title because I wanted to see how they'd iterate on these characters.
Yeah.
Okay,
you go, Runaes.
So here's a question for both of you. How did you decide on your main for Soul Calibur?
You go, yeah.
I'm just a big weeb. I like... I see that's part of it. Like, when I was younger, I used to play Keelik main, Siegfried off, and then... nowadays, I'm just like, hey, that guy's blonde and has a big sword. that was sort of the making process.
Well, for me, so like, I have no history with Soul Calibur. I have seen it at various events. The truth be told, my first exposure to it was at a one of those gaming music orchestras where they play the like scores to a lot of gaming music.
Oh yeah.
For one in particular, I think it was the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. They played. There was this competition. I forget the specifics of it because I was not in tune with the Soul Calibur scene. But two of the strongest Soul Calibur players in Melbourne got to play each other on stage with the orchestra playing the background music to the theme. God, I'm not sure if you know their names. One is Woody, aka Kevin Wood. He used to play Yoshimitsu, and other dude
Mitsurugi. I think he would have been playing Mitsu.
Other guy. Oh my god, Viper. His name was. And that was my first exposure to like actual Soul Calibur play, and it actually looked pretty good. It's just, but before that, I'd never played. But you know, in this day and age where I try every fighting game, I was gonna give Soul Calibur a try. I was at Evo during one of the character reveals when they revealed Athorell. I'm like, 100%, I am playing this dude. 100%.
He definitely, like, if anyone asked, like, oh, who does Arby play? Like, yeah. On the note of the music, too, I think, like, the music is another thing that's awesome about this game. Like, the snow stages track?
Mm-hmm.
It's called
yes.
That's
quite nice.
I love that song.
Mm. And I'm personally fond of, like, I know some people aren't, for what reason I will never understand, but the Witcher stage, absolutely love that stage. The stage itself is less to be desired, but the actual track, yeah.
God, yeah, I love it. Like, I'm not going to try and do it, but that, like, chanting they've got in the background and stuff.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. That. But yeah, it's just, the game has so much flavor. Like, Athorell, like, Zasalamel, so much personality behind him, and who would have thought that I would have picked up Tierra? But she's just great.
Yeah, she's very off-brand for you. Mm-hmm. I feel like, I don't know, I'm usually a character loyalist in these kind of games, like Siegfried and that kind of thing. But Soul Calibur, I feel like it's kind of getting to the point where, like, I'm picking up characters like Crow because he looks okay. Like, I like the character enough, but God, he's good. Like. Same with Keelik as well. Like, I started playing Keelik a little bit, and he's not as obviously strongly balanced as Gro, but he's still that type of character where you can, like, just apply some really simple mind games to your opponent, have that same kind of play dynamic, and, like, play pretty safely as well.
So for those people who are new to this iteration, like, it's been a while, but let's go over what are some of the changes from the previous iteration that we found in this new version of the game.
Well, the biggest change is reversal edge.
Yeah. That never used to be a thing, did it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, like, I'm not as against reversal edge as a lot of people who have come into the game and don't really like it that much. I don't think it's a bad change to the game. I don't think it takes anything away.
Like, I don't think it's actually bad at all. It's just, I find that some characters are very privileged when they use it. Other characters are not.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, and like, I feel like the risk reward for certain characters is very skewed, and they're like, but I really enjoy the mind game dynamic around it. Different characters having different risk reward for reversal edge and how it functions is just like a really good design choice. I feel like Astaroth, you get in reversal edge with him and it's terrifying. But also, like, there are characters as well, like Gro, for example, where his highest damage option from reversal edge is kick. And so if you know that, it changes how you interact with that, like, rock, paper, scissors system. It's weighted. I don't know. I think of all the changes they put in, putting in a system which has a lot more emergent depth. Like, it seems simple, but becomes complex as you understand it more. I really like that. I think that's good.
It's not just a simple 1, 2, 3 options. There are actually layers to it. So
yeah, exactly.
So on that, Mina's strongest option from reversal edge is her B, which means people are going to use kick. But the problem is, if I know you're going to use kick, I can backdash, and then my strongest option is still to backdash and then get a launch. So it's like, either I use my strongest reversal edge option, or I punish you for trying to beat my strongest reversal edge option and get the same damage anyway. And then very skewed.
Yeah, and you get that kind of, like, second level Yomi too, where if you've gone through that 2-step process, someone can understand that that's good, so they'll do whatever counters backdash, putting them in a situation where your B then becomes the best option. I don't know. I think that kind of, like, emergent depth is really good for game balance. Other things that got changed in this game, I think one of the big ones is the return of guard impact.
Oh, that did not used to be a thing?
No, it used to be a thing, but you have to use meter. So it used to be 50 meter to actually guard impact.
Oh.
Yeah,
So guard impacts were very it was like
deliberate.
You wouldn't see it. It was very deliberate. You'd have to know you were doing a guard impact.
Mm-hmm.
So
and that was actually one of the things that pissed me off about 5 is so your critical edge in 5 would always penetrate guard impacts.
Yep.
Regardless, like everyone's would always beat it. So with Hilda, what you would do is you save the meter, you'd guard impact, and then you'd use your critical edge.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Problem is, Hilda had the problem of the camera is her aimbot. If the camera goes off, her aim goes off. So when your opponent tries to reversal GI a GI, the camera shifts to show that they've done a reversal GI.
Yep.
So if you went GI critical edge, the camera shifts to say they've GI'd. So your attack goes off to the side, and you miss completely.
Oh, wow.
It was one of the most infuriating things about Hilda, except...
That's interesting.
The fact that the camera was also her aimbot made certain things retarded in that you couldn't air control out of one of her air combos. And it was an air combo that relaunched you. So you get opened up for air control and then try to air control, but she'd relaunch you. And then you lose air control. Then she'd open you up and relaunch you. And this would go on for 15 seconds.
I actually think, like, for all the balance discussion that goes on about Soul Calibur even now, compared to past iterations of the game, we're definitely at the most balanced stage of the game, even since release. Like,
yeah, I would say so.
And of course, I don't like a lot of the balance changes, but at the same time, we are at the most balanced iteration of Soul Calibur I'd say there's ever been. More characters are viable now than they have been at any previous iteration, and there's less degenerate play patterns like Hilda repeating like relaunches and that kind of thing, or ring outs, or issues like in Soul Calibur 3, Soul Calibur 5, where like Viola is absurd, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Other changes, though, one thing I was going to say, GI getting brought back off meter is great. Visual representation of the 3 levels of GI, based on move properties, is a big one, and break attacks, breaking through guard impact.
Oh, that's a big one that I like.
That is a massive one, and I love it as well. It means that you've got like this real second layer to the to how GI versus reversal GI functions. Because one thing that I don't think a lot of people know is if you are GI'd, you can't guard until the end of that, like until you end that recovery frame.
Yep.
So if you get level 2 GI'd, it's about 16 frames, I think. So an opponent can do a 16 frame move, but you can GI. But if you're
you can reversal edge. That's something that people don't forget. So that's a kind of odd thing you can do, because one of the things you can do to punish someone trying to GI you back is to use the universal guard break to A+B.
Yep.
That will, with every character, lethal hit.
Yeah.
But if they GI you and you tap your reversal edge, you are no longer in a guard state. So you aren't in GI recovery, and you aren't in reversal edge. So basically, you might get hit, but you won't get lethal hit. So against some characters, for example, Killick, it's really useful because if he does the
lethal hit 4B.
Is it 4B? Yeah, lethal hit 4B. You reversal edge, get the guard on it, and then attack back. I think he can step it anyway. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
So you still get punished for it. But if he tries to do the A+B to beat it, I think you win. Because you're faster.
I do wonder if that's something, like those kind of bugs and that kind of thing, I wonder if that's something that they will fix. Because they have shown in the past, like with, I can't remember what people were calling it, glitch stepping, I think Tomo called it.
Yeah.
Where like in the C flash, you would tap guard and up or down and be able to like glitch sidestep. They removed that.
Yes.
So I wonder with these like kind of tapping reversal edge to subvert lethal hit and that kind of thing, I wonder if that's something that they're going to change eventually.
Well, probably not, because it is punishable. Like it's something that you can do, and you can get around people doing that. It's not like it's like the CE sidestep where Astaroth guesses correctly, does a CE to throw you, you're standing, and then suddenly you're behind him and launch him. It's like, well, where did that come from?
But
this is like
wonder
something
I wonder if that's something with the balance of this game where they're weighing up whether it's fair or whether it's intended. Like, if it's not intended, are they going to patch it anyway, even if it is fair?
I think what they should do is make the recovery of Reversal Edge also that, like, when you're using the reversal attack, it also has that GI recovery type property where you can still lethal hit it with moves that lethal hit that.
I feel like you come at this from you're comp sci, aren't you? Like, you know how to code and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, so I feel like you come at it with, like, a real understanding of how the coding that might underlie some of these systems works and that kind of thing, where a lot of people wouldn't.
Yeah.
So, Soul Calibur being, I'd say, it's still, like, month 3 or 4, I'd say, the new game on the block. I want to discuss, like, what, for someone trying to get into Soul Calibur, what will be, like, from your, like, point of view, the main appeals of the game, but also I want to discuss what might be, like, you know, a hard thing to deal with, considering Soul Calibur might be completely different from another game that someone's coming into.
I think, just to go straight to the hard things to deal with, I think one of the things that a lot of people coming into Soul Calibur have had to struggle with a bit is the amount of legacy skill that a lot of people have going around.
Yeah, so there is a lot of legacy skill. One of the things I think that is good about this game is that it rewards good play. So if you are smart and do smart play rather than just reflexes, if you know, like, if you can actually get inside your opponent's head, you can do very well at this game. Like, this game severely rewards smart play. Like,
I feel like with that's something that almost goes for 3D fighters in general. Like, 2D fighters compared to 3D fighters, I feel like 3D fighters are a knowledge battle. 2D fighters, the system is simpler, and because it's simpler, you end up with a much more Yomi-based kind of dynamic. Like, everyone knows everything that's going on, so you have to really, like, outguess your opponent or make them second-guess themselves or something like that. Whereas in 3D fighters, I think that the complexity of the games in 2 different ways really, like, it forces it to be a knowledge battle. If you don't know about something, then you're going to lose to it. And then in that same sense, you end up with this community difference where in Soul Calibur, Tekken, and even Smash games, I think are really bad for this. Knowledge is kind of hoarded. You'll end up with much more Discord tech, much more like secret Twitter tech, much more of that, like... It's harder to access learning resources for these games because people want to keep that to themselves because that means that people they're playing against don't necessarily know those things.
You feel like it depends on
that's more Smash. Like,
that's more Smash, but I think you do see it very heavily in Soul Calibur as well.
I feel like it depends on the community because that's one thing that's been brought up in previous podcasts. Depending on what type of community you're brought up in, whether to, like, share information so that the scene as a whole levels up or to keep the information so you just alone...
the thing about this game is generally the moves are all, like, people kind of know what's going on, but where it will get you is the gimmicky tech stuff that you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I remember you were asking on the Sungmina Discord, Runaes showed me this 240 damage combo, do you know what's going on here?
Yeah, like that kind of thing where if you discover something like a 240 damage combo, there's something that ticks off in your head that goes, there's got to be a hole somewhere. Even if it's like something that even if it's an option that can be covered, even if it's something that has like another layer to it, that first level of this is a 240 damage combo, there's something wrong there, so you want to find out.
Is that out of the norm of, like, damage wise?
Yeah, that's an absurd amount of damage.
That's lethal, but that requires a opponent to tech. So you need, if your opponent Ukumi's the wrong direction, they basically die. Now, I would say every character can do this.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, quite honestly, every character should be able to, if you Ukumi wrong, just straight out kill you. Yeah,
sorry, that's something that we can probably bring it back to Abby's question about. One one thing that a lot of people coming into Soul Calibur will struggle with is Soul Calibur's tech system, and tech trap system is a lot more complex than a lot of games.
Yep.
It's not quite like Tekken where you've got refloats and you've got get-up attacks and stuff, but it does have a omnidirectional ukemi system, which is just guarding as you hit the ground to instantly stand up. But that guard state in Soul Calibur means that you can't... Sorry, that ukemi state in Soul Calibur stops you from guarding. Mm-hmm. So you do end up with a lot of characters having very specific situations where they will tech trap you indiscriminately in a way that I actually think is quite similar to Smash Bros. Compared to a game like...
The way you can think of it is you're getting up, you can't guard, and you can be relaunched. But you are using the ukemi to dodge an attack. So it's basically like as if you're sidestepping.
It's almost like, in a sense, like rolling back or into whatever direction you please.
It's basically think of it as an ukemi is you making a sidestep against an attack. So if you sidestep someone and they hit you with a horizontal, obviously you're getting hit. It's the same with ukemi. If you backstep and get launched by a 3B, then that's obvious you're going to get relaunched by it. Mm-hmm. You're going to get launched by a 3B. So it's kind of the same with the tech system. Like if they do an attack that will catch a side roll, then you would try and side roll.
Yep.
But your side roll is an evasive attack. It does avoid all highs, so you don't have to worry about highs. But you can be relaunched or you can be knocked down again.
Yeah, I think the intentionality is really where it differs in Soul Calibur compared to a lot of games. You have to be really intentional about whether you're staying down on purpose or which direction you're getting up with, and you have to be really cognizant of which character you're playing against and that kind of thing when you're making those decisions about how to stand up. Compared to
one thing I will say about the tech system in Soul Calibur is that even if you make a wrong guess, your opponent's combo retains all of its properties from before. So if they've stunned you twice already, other than wall stuns, so if they've already done like a ground stun on you, they can't ground stun you again.
I feel like that's deep system mechanics too, though.
Yeah.
Things that will bring people to Soul Calibur, I think, or if you're trying to get into the game and really want to be sold on it, characters are super thematic. The base system is so easy to learn. You can pick up and button mash and the game is fun. You can pick up and learn your first level combos and the game is fun. You can come in as a totally new player, and I think we've seen a lot of this in the Soul Calibur Discord for Australia as well. Quite a lot of the people who were playing when the game launched are now playing much more rarely, but there are just new crops of people who come through, get into the game, find a little crew of people to play with, and they get good on their own. And it's really easy to hit that sort of like mid-level of skill that's required to understand the game, not be the best at it, but you can engage with all of the game systems.
Yep.
In a really like, I feel like it's healthy for the game way. Like you'll have people come in and you're not going to get blown out of the water because you don't understand one frame links.
So at base level, it's not ridiculously hard to pick up.
For sure, it doesn't have the floor is low and the ceiling is high, and I think that's,
which is good. I think that's very pivotal for any fighting game.
Yeah, well, I think that is. Yeah.
The thing about the combo system in Soul Calibur is that it is really easy to do your combos. Like your generic combos are really there's no really hard one frame links that you'll ever need in this game. Like other than very
unless you're playing Siegfried.
You don't need those combos.
No, you don't need them. But yeah. I
can tell you right now. Selena has a instant while rising B plus K.
Yeah.
So that requires you to within one frame, crouch, release guard, hit B plus K during a one frame crouch link.
You know that wall combo, the ridiculous one that you messaged me after a game about?
Yep.
Yeah, that one has a one frame I while rising B link as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, 6 hard stuff is cool. I love doing 6 hard stuff.
Like the hard stuff is cool, but like you don't necessarily need it. Like generally the hard stuff will be like your just frames, and just frames are actually really easy in this game.
Yeah, in this game. One thing I will say as well, selling people on the game, Soul Calibur is a really rewarding game, I feel like. If you put the effort in, you get that reward back. If you are playing the game well, it's very obvious the difference between... Like, you can see your own improvement very easily in Soul Calibur compared to a lot of titles. So I think that, like, if you're looking for a game similar to like Street Fighter or BlazBlue or a lot of the anime titles, because the floor is quite high on those games, you spend a long time before you begin to see the results of your efforts.
Yep.
Soul Calibur, it's a pretty steady trend the whole way through. As soon as you start playing the game, if you're learning, if you're putting the effort in, if you're playing against real people and that kind of thing, you'll see the results pretty quickly, and it's really just rewarding to get into the game.
One of the things about Soul Calibur is that it is very obvious when you've done something wrong. You know immediately you've made the wrong choice. Like, there's no ambiguity of, oh, how did that, like, why did that happen? Like, it's obvious you've made the wrong choice. It's obvious when something's a low. It's obvious when something's a mid.
Yep.
Like, it's not like, oh, wait, what was that? Did I, like, do that wrong? Did I get crossed up? No, you can't be crossed up. When you make a mistake in this game, you know what mistake you've made, and you know how to, like, basically deal with it next time.
Yeah, exactly. It's a game that you can learn by playing. I think it's the simplest way to say what we've kind of been getting at for a little while.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to spend... Like, the game rewards you for spending time in training mode, of course.
Yes.
But you can learn the game by playing it, which I think is just amazingly important and amazingly engaging for people. Like, I think that's one thing that fighting games can't suffer from on a broader scale. Like, the reason fighting games will never be as popular as, say, MOBAs or first-person shooters or anything like that is that a lot of the time fighting games require you to put in work time. Like, you kind of have to do your homework, you have to put in a lot of effort, a lot of thought, if you want to be able to compete at a high level. You can't learn everything by doing, but Soul Calibur is a game where you can learn a lot by doing, which means that it really, like okay,
so Soul Calibur, like, you can, like, at the high levels, you need that knowledge. Like, I actually had a punish game for Hilda, punish guide for Hilda in Soul Calibur V, which I listed every character's attacks, what you need to use to punish them, as well as, like, not just punish on block, but, like, where you need to duck to punish, or where you need to sidestep, or where you need to use a certain move to punish.
I have a compiled document actually for Soul Calibur VI with Siegfried, where I've kind of like collected resources from all the different discords and stuff that is like character sorted for that exact thing. Like Fire Necromancer, shout out to Fire Necromancer on Twitter, does a lot of these kind of guides of how to deal with character strings and like a lot of different discords. And I think this is where, like, that Discord chat we were having before about tech, a lot of different Discords will have different ways of organizing themselves. The Siegfried Discord has character channels and how to deal with every string of that character as Siegfried and punish it, so on and so forth. So I think that, like Runaes was saying, if you put in that kind of like effort and start to write up your own docs and that kind of thing, you'll be able to really like learn how to optimize your own character as well.
Yeah, and just to drive the point you guys were making previously, how the floor is low and the ceiling's high, and like it's not too hard to pick up. Like I've mentioned previously, my knowledge, my experience with Soul Calibur is non-existent, but I feel like picking it up, sticking with it for a couple of months, I got to like a decent level. So as a new player, that's like I'm just trying to drive that point home. Very not too hard to pick up.
Yeah, you can, and it's a good game to get your mates into too. Go do that. Help the Soul Calibur scene. Turn up at your locals with a copy of Soul Calibur. Be like, hey, there's a big fucking sword in this game. Let's play, and you'll actually be able to get people in on the game in like an hour or two.
Interesting. So, just out of curiosity, what's the scene been like offline in the past with the previous versions of the game? Because my knowledge is almost not non-existent. I know that there was a decent amount of a scene for 5. I know like a few players like Gel in Melbourne had a history playing the game.
In Melbourne, the scene for 4 and 5 was kind of decent. I know that. You had Now and Engered who hosted offline sessions in Melbourne. In Sydney, for 4, we had, as I said, Bailey was one of the guys who we would always go to Bailey's place out in the West and play Soul Calibur 4. Then 5, we had a lot of we had some Chinese university students who got into the game and joined the scene. So for 5, there was a really big scene. It's kind of died out a little bit for 6 because there was initially like a decent okay scene. Like there was 4 of us who went to our local Battle Cat bunker. Shout out to Stefan and the BKB.
Yeah, shout out to them.
But unfortunately, other than myself and Zuzu, who's another Soul Calibur player from Sydney, no one really shows up. Like they've kind of not really come out, and it's
I feel like
a little bit depressing.
Yeah, I feel like the problem in that regard is not only Soul Calibur, not like it's a good game, but it's a niche game, and I feel like this example holds across all fighting games. People are just lazy. Like the
for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
like the comfort of just playing online is too much of a comfort for people to like want the drive to come and play offline. And
I'm guilty for that. Our locals are on a Friday night, and I sit there and I'm like, I could play online, or like go out drinking, or I could go to the local. And like a lot of the time, I'll just skip. I think that like
I feel like collectively online numbers and offline together for Soul Calibur are actually pretty decent. And I feel like you'll get proper representation of that at the majors across Australia.
Yeah, I think that there's like something about niche games, and I'm sure Runaes knows this from anime titles as well, is that like if you're playing a niche game, locals tend to be pretty low-key. But as soon as you get to majors and stuff, everyone wants to show their stuff. And putting in that, like, going to your locals and putting in that weekly work and supporting your venues and that kind of thing is massively important. I can't understate that enough.
Oh, definitely. Like, because like Soul Calibur is niche, like, but anime is also super niche. What I find is people who play these niche games are actually hyper committed.
Yeah.
So people who actually like these niche games are hyper committed. They will go to these locals. You will find people who really love the game and they are committed to getting the game out there. Like,
especially in Australia, where we like if particular game hasn't got the best online code, you suffer from not having the exposure to play a lot. So you have to come out, essentially.
I think that's probably why a lot of Soul Calibur, people in Soul Calibur for Sydney don't come out, is because the netcode for Soul Calibur isn't bad.
It's actually very good.
You can sit there and just play a shitload of games on your own, or like while hanging out in your underwear, and you're like, man, I have to like go verse people in real life. But at the same time, though, I think like it's really one thing that fighting games is just the best for as a rule, but Soul Calibur is really good for as well, is that any of these knowledge-based games like Tekken, Soul Calibur, Anime Fighters as well, you end up with similar personalities who are attracted to these kind of games. So if you go out to your locals, it's a really, really like social environment, and you get to hang out with people who are like-minded, the kind of person who will hyper-fixate for a couple of weeks on how to deal with very specific situations in a fighting game is not a common type of person. And so if you have a few of those in the same place, it's easy to like make a conversation and you're into the same thing. Yeah.
Nice.
And you get to sit there and insult each other's character choices, which is always fun.
Oh, that actually brings back to, you guys never asked me why I picked my character.
Yeah, why did you
I actually legitimately was going to bring that up as a topic of discussion.
Yeah, look, I don't want to know why you picked Songmina. I feel like that's definitely a sign of a deep-seated issue that we don't know.
Okay, no. You guys will actually laugh when I actually explain.
Yeah. All right, so let's hear it.
I picked, in Soul Calibur 2, I picked Shanghua because she was Chinese.
Okay.
That was my reasoning. I get back to Sydney, and everyone's saying, Shanghua is a top tier, you're a top tier whore. So I'm like, okay, fine. Soul Calibur 3, I kind of picked up Cassandra. And Mitsurugi. Mitsu has VC cancel bullshit. You're a top tier whore. Okay, fine. Soul Calibur 4 comes out. I watch a podcast by Alex J showing Hilda. He's like, oh, Hilda's like an okay character. She's probably like mid-tier at best. Okay, she's a mid-tier character. I'm not tier hoarding this time. Let's pick Hilda. Hilda's a fucking top-tier character. You're a whore. I'm like, what do I do? Soul Calibur 5, I'm like, okay, I'm playing Hilda. Fine, whatever. Oh, Viola looks kind of cool. Let's play a bit of Viola. Yeah, Viola's a top-tier character. You're a whore.
I see where this is going. Okay.
I get to Soul Calibur 6. I'm like, Songmina was shit and like kind of trash in 4. Let's play Songmina. She's also like Hilda, and Hilda's not in 6. Where are we now?
Top tier again.
Top tier again.
I feel like This is actually like a bit of a wider FGC conversation. One thing that I really don't get about the FGC is this like discussion of like just disparaging people who play top tier characters.
I feel
I get all the
It's kind of because like people who deliberately go for top tiers, like they're going deliberately for top tiers because their character is top tier. They're not like you have like character loyalists or people who chase the top tier.
Yeah.
Look, anyone who understands fighting games know that. Look, we find them fun and enjoyable as a hobby of ours, but it's competitive and you want to win. Why wouldn't you not give yourself the best opportunity to win?
Yeah, like if you're playing a character that isn't the best, it's because you believe, and you're at a top level. Sorry, it's because you believe that character has tools which allow them to win in a way that you think is more suitable for you. It's not because you're like super unique and interesting. Like playing a low tier is not a personality.
Yeah, look,
no.
Look,
you can't be like, I'm a low tier main, and therefore I'm special and unique and interesting.
Look,
if you're playing a character that's not top tier, it's because you think you can win with that character and need to be able to prove that.
As much as personality comes down to like a character choice, it's not 100% down to that, and no one like hates themselves enough to like a character who is just not viable at all. So
yeah, exactly.
So you so people who like top tier bandwagon, their mentality is, I want to win, I want to beat my opponent at all costs. A person who's a low tier hero is someone who's like, I want to be able to say, I beat you with this low tier piece of shit, you are garbage, I am better than you.
Yeah, I find it really interesting.
That's the mentality you find.
This is like my teaching background a little bit, but I find it really interesting the language they use around this kind of thing. Like, you've got that really awful, like, kind of sexist, like, tier whore kind of shit that people throw around, and then the other end of it is low tier hero. Like, there's implicit in the language you have.
It's very implicit in the language. Like, honestly,
people who play low tiers are cool and good, and people who play top tiers are awful and that kind of thing.
It is a very implicit. The reason why I say low tier hero is because if you can succeed with that character, people love it. You are the hero. Like, you are the like underdog. So if you win with a character that's already really good, it doesn't take that extra effort to really beat someone whose character is really horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and something Tez said in the chat's dead right as well. It's people who want to protect their ego. You'll often find people who play low tier characters and that kind of thing who'll giving themselves that kind of mental out. Like being able to say, oh, I only lost because I play low tier.
What are you guys saying? What are you guys saying about me? What are you guys saying?
Absolutely nothing. I don't put anything on your name.
Look.
Hey man, you win events with Gigas.
Honestly, look, at the high level, like, you can pick anyone. At the high level,
at the highest level, like, you can find that even the worst character can have a niche where you can win because either character unfamiliarity, which is the biggest thing for low tier characters. Character unfamiliarity can really, really hurt in a tournament setting.
I think perfect example of this is Rangchu winning the Tekken World Tour with Panda.
The other example I was going to bring up is Infiltration and Hakan.
Yeah.
Like, that's a situation where he knows Hakan beats Boxer, and he knows he can play Hakan to a high enough level where he will beat the character. And obviously, you don't get enough matchup experience with Boxer against Hakan to really be able to deal with it too well.
That's something that I think is really unique as well to fighting games, is like top tier versus top tier matchups are very well explored, but top tier versus mid to low tier matchups are usually pretty badly explored, or low tier versus low tier matchups. So being able to, like, if you have a knowledge, again, it comes back to knowledge in these kind of games like Tekken and Soul Calibur. So if you've got a knowledge advantage on your opponent, in that not necessarily that you know their character super well, but you know they don't know your character, it really gives you an advantage. Like, you're starting, as soon as the match starts, you're in a better position than your opponent just because you know what they can do and they don't know what you can do.
100%.
So, I hate to bring it back to Mina because she's top tier, but in CWC, one of the reasons why I beat CO in winners is because he didn't actually know that Sung Mina had a soul charge unblockable that was actually very good.
Yeah.
Like, sure. I hit him with that, and I killed him with it. And it was like... Because that thing is extremely good for a wall combo. And, like, if you don't know about it, it will take you by surprise. And then I think on that, just took it all the way.
Yeah, and I think that's something as well, just if we're doing personal stories, like, the reason that I won so consistently for Tekken and Soul Calibur last year is because a lot of the time I had a knowledge advantage over anyone else. Like, if you're the guy that goes and looks up frame data, if you're the one that labs out a very specific situation that you're losing to, if you're the person that can, like, know about stuff like that unblockable you were talking about, Runaes, with Long Mina, and your opponent does it, then if you go to a tournament and your opponent's not putting in as much work, you're going to beat them. And I think that's something as well, like Soul Calibur, Tekken, fighting games in general is really good for that. If you put in more effort than your opponent, effort doesn't lie.
Yeah.
I guess, in fighting
like
games.
what Runaes was saying, like, Soul Calibur rewards good play.
Yeah, exactly.
It also rewards knowledge.
Knowledge as well, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Soul Calibur is a game that really rewards degenerate play.
It does. Athorell hates Sungmina's 2A plus B, the low guard break.
Well, is there anything more degenerate than ring outs as someone who's not accustomed to them?
I love ring outs. I would go to the death.
If you're not used to ring outs, no, but like ring outs are a Soul Calibur.
Obviously.
Sure.
Yeah, I was joking, but
I'd be interested. You know what would be sick if in the future they do some kind of stage design where Soul Calibur has ring outs, but then also has something similar to like breakable stages.
They had that in 4.
Yeah, I know.
4 and 5.
Yeah,
so when you knock someone, actually I think it was just 5, not 4. So if you knock someone off the ledge in certain stages in 5, you would go to a different stage afterwards.
Yeah. But I don't mean like ring out next round end. I mean something like Tekken where you've got like balcony breaks, or like you've got, say for example, like Astral Chaos where you break that wall. If you break that wall and knock someone off the edge, it doesn't ring them out straight away. They land on the ground below and you go down to them, that kind of thing, and the stage's setting changes. Like something really dynamic like that I think would be really interesting in Soul Calibur.
The stage I kind of really wanted to see is awkward positions for the ring out. Like, for example, you're fighting on a donut. So there's a hole in the middle of the arena.
Cool. That would be cool.
And like, so you can manipulate around, or where there's like
I feel like Anyway Run is perfect for that too. You wouldn't be able to do that in many fighting games. That's one thing that I've actually been a little bit sad about with the balancing that they're doing in Soul Calibur 6 so far, is they seem to, because of the amount online players, of course, complain about ring outs, and the way that online latency affects how you can use moves that do ring out. I'm really upset that they're starting to make it, like, safer. Like, on the latest patch, Taki has a much... Like, obviously Taki needs some help, but buffing her in a way where she can't bring herself out anymore. Or
that
like,
was...
getting rid of Siegfried's 2A plus G and 1A plus G ring outs.
Well, no, 2A plus G still rings out. It's the 1A plus G that doesn't.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, in those kind of cases where... And also you see it a lot more now where, like, if the system is given a choice between snapping to the edge or falling off the stage, a lot of the time characters will hit that kind of invisible wall and snap to the stage. I think that, like, that's one thing where they've kind of watered down that Soul Calibur essence a little bit and made it so that it's a little bit more beginner friendly, which I don't resent too much, but it would be nice to still have those options on the table. I feel like that's something that the balance in Soul Calibur is really keyed to.
Well, to be fair, they don't want the Hilda ring slide anymore. Like, every single character I've seen, if they've got like a move that does like a knock, they will basically slide slightly and then stop immediately. They don't do an actual full slide. That basically broke Hilda in 4.
On the topic of balancing, guys, I just wanted to bring up Soul Calibur. I mean, we're in this day and age where we get a lot of balance changes depending on your game, as compared to earlier fighting games. Like, for example, let me throw out Third Strike. That never got a balance change. I'm not sure how many balance changes Soul Calibur previous iterations have gotten. We're very early into the life of Soul Calibur, but we're still seeing we've seen like how many 2-3 balance up changes.
It's much more frequent, and it's even more frequent than Tekken.
What are your opinions on that? Because as someone, it feels like the game hasn't had time to be like developed with quick balance changes.
Yeah, I feel like this is something. I think Runaes was going to jump in and say this before, but the old Soul Calibur titles usually would get 1 or 2 balance patches and then never again. And like in the old Soul Calibur games, you ended up with a lot of really degenerate, awful balance situations, which killed those games at a competitive level for a little while.
Yep.
Like a lot of scenes were not that persistent after certain things were discovered, certain bits of tech.
Like Soul Calibur 3 died to VC. Like,
yeah,
VC
exactly.
was fun and hilarious, but like it really made the game.
Can you explain that for those who aren't familiar?
So VC is basically variable cancel. It's where you can cancel an attack if you've been put into a situation where you're back turned. So if you were back turned and then got a throw on someone, you could do this thing called variable cancel, where you cancel your attack. So for example, with a throw, you would cancel to neutral. Your opponent's still on the throw, so they're still getting thrown around, but you're a neutral.
And like Kilik was one of the characters that very famously became good because of VC, because he had certain situations where like he would get a free launcher if the opponent broke the grab. Like he would try and grab the opponent. If the opponent broke that grab, he would get a free launcher. So it was a win-win situation for him. You ended up with this kind of like no counterplay, no interaction situation, which just doesn't work for a competitive game.
That sounds horrible.
So I don't know. On Soul Calibur 5, I'm in two minds about it. First mind is I think that first patch, like game 1.0, they should have been bug fixing, and not touching the balance at all. I think that letting things shake out and letting people discover it would have been much better. But as soon as they've put their finger in the pie and done that first balance patch, then they're kind of beholden to multiple balance patches in the future as they fine tune. Because if you do that first balance patch and then something else is messed up and you leave it as is, then people lose faith in the developer, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think the biggest example for too many frequent balance patches for me has always been Mortal Kombat. In the early life of it, it was almost on like a monthly basis, and that's something I was not akin to. That was something I was not familiar with, and it's just, I think for all fighting games, for the time for them to develop and get a decent meta out of, it's just detrimental. So
I feel like there's too many variables in fighting games. I feel like fighting games are a complex enough system that trying to, like, in a really closed-minded kind of way, just pull on those variables to try and interact with that system is really fraught. Like, you can't sit there and be like, okay, if I make this worse, then that means this will happen, because you can make a move worse and that will affect other way. Like, because you're approaching a situation with your full set of moves, if you make a move worse, it makes all the other moves that character has comparatively better. So the decision making then becomes skewed around those other options, but those options might compare to each other in a different way after the first option has been nerfed.
Yeah, that's a classic example of characters getting like indirect buffs or nerfs.
Exactly. And also, like, you see a lot of tech being discovered post-patch in characters that people might have thought have been figured out, because people are forced to examine their other tools because one of their stronger tools, more obvious tools, has been nerfed.
You feel like what's driving some of the balance changes is because with Soul Calibur, the main audience is not just a competitive scene; it's a casual scene as well.
Yeah, I agree. And that's not something I love, to be honest. But
so I was going to bring up an example of getting in the things explored because you've nerfed one of the options. So in BlazBlue CS, so Continuum Shift, Noelle Vermillion had a combo called the Hider Loop, or High Damage Loop, which basically just used her pistol to shoot you over and over again. Now, the standard combo was you just did the standard C shot, dash cancel, got them with the gun flip, C shot, dash cancel, flip. And just repeated that over and over again. So they decided to nerf her so that the C shot had repeat proration. So if you used it multiple times in the same combo, the combo would basically end immediately. It it got to the point where people, instead of using the C shot, would use the B shot to put them onto the floor, and then dash cancel and pick them up anyway.
Yeah, okay.
But she could already do that. It's just that the C version was slightly more damaged because before it had increased proration on it. So she already had that tool. I knew she had. So, but it was found really quickly after that nerf because they nerfed that particular part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's a perfect example of like how casual balance can be. Like, that's obviously a high level example. Like, people are doing a combo which they don't like, so they nerf it. But on the note of casual balance, I feel like if you balance around scrub killer moves, or if you balance around things that work online, or balance around things that just aren't that fun to play against, a lot of the time you'll just unintentionally throw a grenade into a game's balance.
You feel like it's out of fear because, you know, it's no secret that they want this game to do well, and if it's not, it might be the last iteration of the game that we see.
Yeah, for sure. So I think like it's a really risky game they're playing at the moment. I do like that Okubo is super active on Twitter. He seems to be really in touch with the community. He seems to be really like interactive. He's listening to top players as well as scrubs when they're talking about how balance should be done. And he's really like trying to put the effort in to make sure this game succeeds in the long term, which I appreciate a lot. I do think that it's something that we'll have to watch and see how it shakes out. So far, I have not hated the balance changes. I think
I'm loving that everyone's on. Don't post your tech to Twitter. Okubo's gonna nerf you.
Yeah, I think that's more people like Koto, like the general players and shit. But like, I don't know. Ivy obviously needed nerfing. I feel like
so
no one's going to argue with that.
I was going to argue with that, except for the fact that I agree with Sammy when Sammy was bringing it up. A lot of people were complaining about Ivy without actually putting effort in to learn what she does.
Oh, for sure. But I think at the top level you were seeing players who would play against Ivy, and you'd see like the really highest level games. Ivy would be overrepresented. Ivy would be quite a lot too good, and you could see that she had really simplified options compared to a lot of characters.
Yeah.
Like Ivy as she is now, you're still seeing her succeed in tournaments. You're seeing players like Sane do amazingly well with her still, but she doesn't have that kind of degenerate play pattern that people don't like, where the options are simplified and punishes don't feel natural. Like 2A+G felt like a move that should, quote unquote, should be punishable, but wasn't. And also, like, it's interesting to see people thought that Song Mina was kind of OP and good and that kind of thing because she was such a strong counterpick to Ivy. But then you see Ivy get nerfed and Song Mina is not quite as seen now.
It's because everyone thought she was...
Runaes, is it you that I'm getting a lot of background?
Yeah, sorry, I'll...
I think he's shouting at someone.
Okay, alright, all good, yeah.
But yeah, I agree with what Runaes was going to say, I think. Well, Athorell, hey. What Runaes was saying a little bit about Song Mina, about how, like, people kind of looked at that character in a really simplistic way at the start, I think. Like, people thought that Song Mina was just an Ivy killer, and then because it was an Ivy killer and people didn't have Song Mina matchup experience, that kind of knowledge battle was skewed towards Song Mina players.
Yep.
But then you see, like, people play stuff like Aswell. Aswell was a big example. And I think Aswell was a big example of really reactive nerfing. That character seemed too good because of his backdash, so they nerfed his backdash, and then they nerfed the shit out of a bunch of his other tools, which maybe weren't that OP.
They definitely went overboard with Aswell, but
yeah, exactly.
Like his backdash was degenerate. Like, I'm not sure if you've seen what it did, but like,
if you watch VODs of me versus Lim in Tassie Grand Finals as well, you just see it's like watching Chase.
I don't need to. I've played Lim on the regular online, and I'm just like, like that Astaroth Aswell matchup. It's a very cat and mouse game.
Yeah, you end up with, like, you just fucking click into YouTube, put the Benny Hill music on, and how to approach this matchup. Like,
yeah, basically.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. Sorry, Runaes, I did interrupt what you were saying about.
Yeah, you keep going.
No, but, like, yeah, it was very degenerate in that he could just do the dumbest stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I think as well with like character balance, and I think this is something that I would say about balance in all games, like MOBA games as well, fighting games, shooters, all this kind of thing. The thing that people always feel bad about is over nerfing. So I wish if they're going to do this kind of like frequent patch cycle, they would be a bit more subtle. They would kind of tone down things that are high level or way too good a little bit at a time, and buff things that are bad a lot. So if you buff things that are bad a lot and nerf things that are too good a little bit, you're more likely to hit that midpoint, I feel like, and you're less likely to disrupt the game's current balanced state. So you don't end up with this huge dynamic shift, which isn't necessarily a lot of fun or that exciting for people. Like, people want to be able to learn about the game, want to be able to, like, get better at the game. So whenever you have those kind of dramatic balance shifts, people kind of get the legs taken out from under them. Like, I know I'm feeling a bit like that with Siegfried at the moment. Like,
it's very bad feeling when you invest a lot of time in the character and like, all of a sudden everything you know and love and like have learned, it's just been swept under the rug. So like,
exactly. And you compare that, like, you can obviously transfer all those skills to new characters and that kind of thing, but it's a time commitment.
It's a time commitment, 100%.
Yeah, but then also on the other side of their balance conversation, I do think what they're doing is very good so far. They have been very good with 90% of the cast. They're making it so that tournaments are really diverse and exciting to watch. And the way that they're approaching glitches and system changes as a whole is, I think, really healthy. They're really being sensible about that compared to a lot of games which will just add new mechanics or systems and that kind of thing as the game is going on, which I'm not a big fan of personally.
Interesting. So the game's fairly new, still fairly new into its release. I may have missed it, but has there been any discussion about a world tour on the Soul Calibur end?
No, it's been quiet on that front completely. So people are expecting that after EVO they might announce something.
Yep.
But as I said, there's been no major tournament for Soul Calibur since the whole Dragon Ball World Tour announcement.
I know Linkors has put something up on Twitter. Linkors being one of the best known Soul Calibur players, one of the better ones. He's put something up on Twitter talking about people showing support for a Soul Calibur World Tour. And I think with Harada in charge of Bandai Namco's kind of planning for esports going forward, there's a decent chance that we'll see a Soul Calibur Tekken kind of combined tour in the same way that Capcom Cup has functioned. And I think that'd be awesome. Like, having that kind of combined event for big games, I think makes it much, much, much easier to get the required level of support, funding, sponsorship, attention, all of that kind of thing going compared to just running single game events.
Yeah. Interesting. Just to bring it back competitively home, we haven't had a major for Soul Calibur, I think, since release. Everyone's just had a bunch of locals.
The closest we've had, I think, has been the December Ranbat for Melbourne.
And even then, I wouldn't...
that definitely wasn't a major, but it was the biggest one.
Look, it was a major, but I don't think it was one that people travelled interstate for Soul Calibur, specifically for Soul Calibur. How hype are you guys for like upcoming majors to determine like the pecking order of Soul Calibur?
This is actually my first year out of university with a full-time job, so I'm actually going to be traveling a heap this year. I'm going to be wanting to come to a lot of the events and make sure that, like, getting among the Melbourne events in particular. But
because it was the same thing for Dragon Balls. For a while, before any major rocked around, there was just a bunch of locals, and there was just... Look, if you played online, you knew who was good and who wasn't, who were the top players and who weren't. But, you know, it's just waiting for that proving ground for, like, the proven best play to come out.
I don't know. One thing that I love about fighting games, just to kind of derail a bit, is that, like, pride factor. Like, God, it's a good feeling. Like, you get to sit there after a major or something like that, and if you did well, you just sit there and you're like, I'm hot shit. It's just such a fucking good feeling. I love that. But yeah, on that note too, people keep an eye out for TFC, 15th to the 17th of March. It's going to be our first Soul Calibur major.
100%. TFC playing host to the first major of a lot of games lately. That seems to be the trend.
Yeah, we've got the first one of the year, so on our regular schedule anyway. So I'm hoping to see, like, I don't know. Last year we were a bit light on majors due to various things, but I think it'll be awesome.
Yeah, I think this year
events are getting back on their feet, and like Australia tends to have like every 2 or 3 months a major.
Yep.
Or something like that. So it'll be good to see people like going around and see how things progress over the course of the year. See whether we see like, can anyone come to Melbourne and beat Daniel? Can anyone will we see just random players turning up at majors and just having breakout performances, that kind of thing? I think it'll be exciting.
Yeah, I mean, during the early life of well, it's still early life, but the first couple of months of playing online and running into oh my god, it's been a blank since I haven't played him so long. The Maxi player.
Oh, Travioli.
It's just been like, what? It's just like, in my mind, I'm like, I've never been bodied so hard by someone on the regular. Like, what is this guy gonna be like at an actual major? Is this?
Did you see actually one of the most recent American majors? A online only player. His name is Rich Sticks. He's one of the big streamers for Soul
Calibur. I know him. I've tuned into his stream.
He came out to his first massive tournament. First time he ever gone to a major, and he came second.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I think he really showed to a lot of people. A lot of people were like, "Oh, it's Maxi." As soon as you come up against someone who knows what that character does, it's fine. And then you see he gets second at a major, and a lot of people at the top level still don't know what the fuck Maxi does. Like. And you do see, even when, he's got this 2-level game plan. Like, if his opponent doesn't know what Maxi does, he just wins. But then if he's come up against someone who does know what Maxi does, he's got this really complex game plan and, can start to feel out his opponent and play Soul Calibur properly, quote unquote. He's playing against an opponent who knows what's on the table.
Yeah.
And, you can see that he's definitely got that skill there. I'll be interested to see if Travioli can have something like that as well. I know Trav beats up a lot of people, myself included, who don't know what Maxi does, but I'd be curious to see as he comes up against players who do know what Maxi does, how he'd go.
It's that... Yeah. It's that anticipation of, like I said before, people are spoiled with online, but when push comes to shove and, a major comes around, I really want to see the online contingency come out.
Yeah, for sure. And I really want to see as well, in the next couple of Soul Calibur patches, I really want to see them improve the lobbies.
Oh, yes, 100%.
Yes.
100%. Look, there's certain things and features for fighting games that I don't know why aren't standard upon release.
Yeah, like Guilty Gear lobbies. Guilty Gear DBFZ lobbies should be the, absolute standard for what you have in a fighting game.
I'm assuming that comes with everything because I've never played Guilty Gear. Well, I have once, but not enough.
You can have, there are in a lobby you can have multiple matches going and you can observe.
Oh yes, that's right. Now I remember.
That kind of thing. So instead of having this massive rotation of 7 people in the Discord playing one match at a time when it plays on, you have 3 matches of 2 and everyone gets rotated.
Yeah, I know you can do that towards a small degree with Dragon Balls, but
yeah, that should just be what is the go. That should be what you're able to do. And it would just be really nice to have that.
Oh, do you know what else would be really nice? Button select, the character select screen. That would be great.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are push for that kind of thing on Twitter, but I think it might be something we see with the next DLC. I would be very, very happy if it is, at least.
Speaking of DLC, the initial release of characters on launch, how close is that to the full roster of previous games? Is there are there a lot of characters missing, or
depends what you define as missing?
Well, I'm not saying missing, that there were staples of the previous iterations that aren't out now, which are just obviously give you hope for a second season of DLC because there's that many not apparent on release.
I honestly don't know if they'll get to a second season, but I think there's stuff like Hilda's a big one, Lizard Man's a big one. But a lot of the characters that are fan favorites that are missing are characters that are sort of clone characters.
Oh, okay.
Small parameter changes, characters like Amy and Cassandra that Runaes was talking about before. They're notably missing. Yeah, Setsuka's another big one. Setsuka, Rock.
What about the Korean? There's 2 Korean males.
Yonsong.
Okay.
Hwang and Yonsong. I feel like Setsuka, Hwang, and Hilda are the big 3 who should be in the game because they're unique fighting styles. Characters like Rock who a lot of his moves have gone into Astaroth, Cassandra. A lot of her moves have gone into Sophia, Lizardman as well. I feel like what we're going to see actually is similar to what happened with Kilik in Song Mina, where like Song Mina used to be much more similar to Kilik than she is now.
Oh, yes,
we're going to see Cassandra and Amy and Brock and probably Lizardman come out, and we're going to see them with an overhauled moveset, something that's new and a little bit different. And
well, the thing is, Cassandra is already extremely different from Sophia in 4. So, like, Cassandra and Sophia are completely opposite. So, Sophia has her Angel
Punish
Step
character.
and her Twin Angel Step, Punish character. So, Sophia's Punish, as you would say, was 16 frames, not 14. So you couldn't actually punish people with it. What she did have was Angel Twirl, which is the quarter circle back.
Sorry, do you mean Cassandra?
Cassandra, yeah.
Yep.
So Cass had her Angel Twirl, which if you made a right guess and you got the auto GI from the Angel Twirl, you could do some big damage on that.
Yeah.
But it was more like Cassandra was the bulldog character. She'd be in your face, like
for sure,
rushing you down. Whereas Sophia was more the wall. You'd be kind of like guarding,
defensive and evasive.
So they're clone characters in a sense, but they have their unique differences. Kind of like the Shotos with Street Fighter.
Kind of, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good comparison.
I kind of want Cass because Cass will bring Electric Wing God Fist to the table. I want to hit people. I showed Arby that when he was up at YSB.
Yeah.
It was literally looking at Kazuya, just the female version. Jesus.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to, actually, like Yig said, Setsuka, I think, will be a big one. If they put Setsuka into the game, and Huang and Hilda will have most of the full roster, and then a lot of the like more subtle in-between characters will be something that could make a season 2.
What seems to be a trend with a few of the games nowadays is guest characters. We've had that with 2B already. Do you think that's going to be a more common thing with a few more?
Yes.
Okay. I think it'll be more common. I don't like it. Like,
so
excuse me for being like the hater of fun.
No, that's fine. We're all entitled to our opinions. I mean, that's the shared opinion of a lot of Tekken characters for DLC characters, but yeah.
Yeah, I just want like all the classics to be in the game, and I want them to maybe come up with a new like Soul Calibur character instead of relying on like other IPs to try and draw attention. Like 2B is a great example. 2B, they've added to the game. She's really faithful to the origin of 2B in Nier, in terms of like her moveset and stuff. She's really like fit into the meta in a kind of non-disruptive way. But in the same time, like, if I had the choice of them putting 2B in the game, or if they'd have said, we're going to add Hild, that's not even a choice for me. I would just say, I want Hild.
Yeah, the thing is, man, I don't think you have much choice. There's too much of a promotional asset to guest characters are.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it brings new people into the game, which is all. Like, you saw when 2B came up in Australia, at least, like, the Aussie Discord blew up, and a lot of the new players were people being like, I'm a big Nier fan, and I've come to play Soul Calibur. Please teach me the game. Like, you get them in the door like that. It's good marketing. So I respect it, but I just want to fucking...
I know. Dude, I'm an OG for my games as well. I know where you're coming from.
Where are all the 2B players? I don't know, Jill. I think they got their ass kicked and went back to playing Nier. Probably. Also,
I mean, I play 2B, but
I hated that character on release, to be perfectly honest. Like, I'm a big salty bitch. Everyone probably knows that about me when I play fighting games. But
I played it for... I think I remember telling Jel, I played it for 10 minutes and was hype because just I love hack and slash characters. Like, I'm a big God of War fan. And then... five minutes after, I'm just, okay, I'm over it. She's kind of dull now.
Yeah, like, having her in Soul Calibur, playing against her, it felt like... I was like, okay, I just need to put in the work to learn what this character does, and you do that, and then it's fine. But, like, when she first came out, I was like, oh, God, this is just visually a lot.
It is, isn't it? It is.
That's the thing that I think I struggle with more than anything about a lot of guest characters in fighting games, is that... Not that they're never OP, they are sometimes, I guess. But, like, not that they're OP, or not that they don't fit the game's system, or they don't fit the game's the game's, like, flavor in any way. It's just that when you see them on the screen a lot of the time, they have really flashy, extraneous, over-the-top moves which are visually confusing. And I think in a game like Soul Calibur, Runaes was saying earlier, it's really communicative. Like you can watch something and be like, that's a mid, that's a high, that's coming from the left, the right, whatever. When a lot of these DLC characters come into games like this, they do shit and you're like, what was that?
Yeah.
That's the bit I don't like. Like the rest of it, sure. But yeah.
Interesting. Just trying to remember what else I wanted to discuss.
You take your notes.
Yes, so we haven't got good. I did enter Soul Calibur when I was in Sydney. Yeah, just it was not a good run. It was not a good run.
Runaes preempted that answer. Just like, how'd he go?
It was not a good run. Like I have a very bad habit of every fighting game I'm currently not playing information wise falls to the wayside, and I almost have to relearn them in a sense. And I had to do that while I was in Sydney for YSB for Soul Calibur and Dragon Ball. So yeah. But
I feel that. Like I tend to hyperfixate on whichever game I'm playing the most of, and so I have that kind of thing where like I'll be really good at the game I'm playing the most of, but anything else less so.
Yeah, but yeah, come TFC, that will all change.
Yeah, come TFC. I'm gonna be trying to practice like every game that I'm playing a fair bit.
I have way too many games I need to get good at.
I think I'm going to be focusing. It's pretty much only going to be Soul Calibur first, Tekken second, and then I'm going to like get at a level for Smash Ultimate and Eunice where I'm not going to embarrass myself.
Well, right now I just need to hardcore practice in Soul Calibur and BlazBlue since EVO Japan's coming up.
Yeah, you confirmed for that, Runaes?
I'm confirmed.
All right.
When is it? Sorry.
15th of February.
Yeah, that's soon. All right. I'll get back on the grind if you need matches.
Yes, I do.
Just planning on stream, but yeah. If you need to practice, I'll get back on it.
On the issue of multiple fighting games, that one thing I did want to bring up, because both of you do play many multiple fighting games. Do you feel like, you know, not everyone, like there's only one Sonic Fox, and not everyone can be great at all the games they play. Do you feel like it's almost a detriment to be playing multiple fighting games, given how it's not?
So you said there's only one Sonic Fox.
Yeah.
I raised you to Keto. He was the Sonic Fox before Sonic Fox.
True.
So
how rare is that type of player though?
It's actually not as rare as you would think. Like there are definitely people who are good at it.
I'm gonna lower the ceiling scale to our level. I mean, how many? Just think among the Australian scene. How many top players in the Australian scene, in your opinion, of who is a top player and not? That's a back to discussion for another podcast on another one. Yeah. But how many top players are spread over multiple fighting games and are doing well?
I think as soon as you get to like people who aren't professional fighting game players, as soon as you get to the level where it's like someone's holding down a full-time job.
Yeah, Baxter, Giggles. Let's see who else is there. Falco's good at every game.
Yeah.
So,
like, there are definitely people who are good over multiple games.
I feel like there are transferable skills. Like, I get where you're coming from. I totally agree. Like, being good at multiple games makes you better at your best game, and like makes you can be good at all those different games. like you,
Athorell. If you came up to me tomorrow and said, "Look, Abby, I've made it my decision. I want to be able to become top 4 at BAM for Soul Calibur, Tekken, and Smash Ultimate." Do you think that's feasible?
No, I don't. Not for me. But I feel like for a lot of people that is feasible. I think that's more of a me problem. But like, I agree with Runaes. Like someone like Baxter or like Falco and that kind of thing. If they said I want to be top for these 3 games and put in the effort, I think they probably could.
They would be.
I think on a broader scale.
I think even with them, like maybe 2 games, 3 games is very difficult.
I feel like it depends on the system. Like if you're playing games with similar systems, it's easier to get good at all of them. Like if you're playing 2 different anime games and Dragon Ball, sure. If you're trying to be the best Tekken player, Smash player, and Street Fighter player, that's fucking impossible. Like
I'm gonna bring up the examples of guys like you brought up, like, and if their games were out currently, Like Baxter's known as a Marvel god. Yeah. He's known as he's easily top three Dragon Ball player in the country right now. What else is there? Like that's two. That's two. Maybe two is feasible, depending on like the range of players you're talking about.
Falco is my pick for a player who could actually get first in multiple games because he's good at anime games. Like you wouldn't think it, but he's actually really good at some. Like for example, Athorell brought up Eunice. Did you know Falco loves that game?
No, I'm not. I was not familiar with that fact.
Because in Under Night, there's a character that is basically Guile, but has Flash Kick on every direction.
Yeah.
Flash Kick and Sonic Boom on every direction. So you can charge back and throw a fireball. You can charge forward and throw a fireball. You can charge down and do a Flash Kick. You can charge up and do a dive kick.
Like, honestly, like, controversial opinion, but even above, like, Tekken and Soul Calibur, which are my two favorite 3D games, Eunice is the best fighting game on the market right now.
I wouldn't disagree with that because like the system is very clean.
It's so like that game feels so good, plays so well, the balance is sick, like all that kind of thing.
Let's discuss it a little bit since you guys do have a background in anime fighters. Like describe it to anyone who is new to it.
New to Eunice?
Yes.
It's kind of like
because anime games, like, you know, when people think
it's
anime,
it's kind of like King of Fighters, but that's also kind of anime.
I guess my best point of comparison it would be it has the kind of ground game of a Street Fighter game with a lot of the like animation and like move choice decisions that you make of an anime game.
Yeah, so it's basically your Street Fighter with a hop and a mini air dash.
Yeah, so nothing DBFZ style, like...
Yeah. It's like your air dash option is kind of like... It's not a DBFZ air dash where like you're doing crazy stuff, but like you're using that to like position yourself.
Yeah.
But like the ground footy game is very Street Fighter-esque.
Another thing about Eunice that makes it pretty similar to Soul Calibur, all the characters are really like thematic, well designed, and play in a very diverse way, I'd say.
Yeah, they're definitely.
Like there's a lot of character diversity, so if you're looking to get into a game and want something that'll like fit your playstyle, you're probably going to find it in Eunice.
Like I already know which character Arby would play. And I'm pretty sure Athorell knows as well.
Yeah, Wardstein.
Yeah.
I need to Google this character.
You look at him and
you'll know that this is my character. Waldstein, so Waldstein.
Who do you play in Eunice, Runaes?
Phone on.
Phone on, yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Dude, why am I always pigeonholed? Although it is. It is.
Like no, like we know that's your character for one thing. Second thing, it's like just watch how the character plays. You will say, yeah, no, this.
I can't lie to myself. I with every single fighting game, I do play the big / grappler looking character. So
yeah,
it might. Yeah, if I ever give this game a try, it probably might be my go-to.
I think honestly, like. One thing, just total derail. That thing that went around on Twitter recently, where people like listed all their favorite fighting game characters. That shit was a lot of fun. It was really good seeing all the Aussie guys come out and be like, hey, I actually also play these games and like these characters.
Dude, I think like I said, it comes down to what I said before. I think there's a lot of crossover. It might not be competitively, but I'd like to say 80% of the fighting games that are out, I have touched to some degree, and I think that's most of the people. It's just you can only concentrate on so many.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely.
Like I've heard the praises of Eunice sung a lot, and you know I would love to give that a try. I heard Margin Obama sing the praises of it, and one of the games he wanted to see be successful come this year, but look. between Tekken, Soul Calibur, which I love, Dragon Ball, which I fall in love with the game. Can I really add like another 2, given that Mortal Kombat is gonna come out, and I know I want to play that? And it's just
okay. So the thing about Eunice is like Eunice. I don't even play that game outside of tournaments. Like,
see, I think that's it's like a mindset. I
actually physically do not play that game outside of tournaments. Like, I only play that game.
But would you say you're really good at Eunice, though?
I'm actually decent at it.
But like decent, or like you would be able to compete with people who do play the game all the time?
I can beat people who play the game all the time. I wouldn't say that I can compete with.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But as I said, that's literally me not playing the game.
Okay. Here's a question for you, Runaes. At a major like BAM, for example, how many games would you sign up for?
Probably about 5.
That's a good one.
5? 5
or 6.
Of that 5 or 6, how many would you really be taking seriously?
Probably about 4.
Really? Okay.
Okay.
Well,
but you play a lot of different anime games.
That's actually quite a lot for individual FGC.
So like a lot of it's like kind of like unique anime games. Like BlazBlue, I've been taking seriously for a while, so that's already I'm already really skilled at that. Soul Calibur, I've loved for ages, so that's another game. Million Arthur, I'm getting into that game, so I would probably take that pretty seriously. Dragon Ball, I don't take it as seriously, but I still kind of consider it kind of serious.
And that's where my issue comes up with, like, you know, this is just a personal thing, a personal opinion. I think it's very, very tough to compete well over a branch number of games, just because so many require so much individual devotion and just...
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think I'm probably on the opposite end of Runaes. I'll enter 4 or 5 games, but I'm never taking more than 2 of them.
Like, I've seen the sign-up list for Tassie FighterCon, and there's actually a lot of DIY stuff that I would like to sign up for, but I'm just like, how... Like, Tassie...
Are you willing to make yourself tired?
No. Tassie FighterCon is one of those rare majors where, like, I won't have to TO. So it can be like, okay, I can jump into the skin of a competitor again, and like, okay, let's see if I can actually do well. Let me try and train for this event. But
well, one of the things about like playing multiple games is you can kind of like enter in multiple tournaments and then just like not take some of them seriously. Like you have to say, I'm going to enter this because I want to, but I'm not going to put in the extra effort. I just want to help boost the community for this game.
Yeah, that's true.
I used to do that for Street Fighter all the time.
Yeah,
for sure.
100%.
I used to always enter Street Fighter, even though I never played the game.
No, you can have that outlook on it as well. You can.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just, you know, still it's still time consuming. Like I could enter Injustice again, knowing that I am not going to practice for it at all, just to support the community.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from as well. Like, I don't know, I feel like at a lot of these events too, I end up like doing some TO work or like getting roped into like herding cats, like kind of getting people to their events and that kind of thing. But like,
I can say TOing and entering in multiple games is harsh. I did that last YSB, and
it's chaotic.
It's chaotic.
I'm telling you, coming like we've all TO'd to some degree. I'm sure all of us have. It's just TOing and competing and playing competitively is not cohesive at all. It's just
exactly. It's like I swear it's just like different types of mental effort, if that makes sense.
No, 100%.
Like, if you're competing, you're in that mindset and you want to like compete, even if it's over a few different games. Whereas if you're TOing, you're just trying to organize people and you don't have that spare like mental capacity to focus on.
Dude, I'm sure I've told on stream before, whether on stream or on podcast, there have been moments where I've been playing Tekken a match, and mid round I'm telling someone to go to this match or what, and I'm just like, I should just DQ myself. It's not even worth it. But
for sure.
Because you perform, but that's the life of a TO.
Yeah.
No regrets.
Yeah, and it always feels like, I don't know, anyone listening, go out and TO for your communities. Like, there's nothing more rewarding.
100%. Yeah, I'm not trying to say like TOing is not worth it because it definitely is.
Like for me, I don't know, getting Smash 4 going in Tassie, for me, when Tassie didn't have a fighting game community, like, didn't have venue or anything like that before that, seeing, like, stuff like TFC now, having multiple fighting game menus, even things like Sam Tavares, Sammy T's, Cool Down Esports, like, all of that sort of flows on from getting something going. So if you want to be playing fighting games in your local community, going out and getting anything going, it has a follow-on effect. Other people will flock to it, and you'll be able to have more events. More things come of it. Everything needs something to start from, and it doesn't start without a TO.
Even if it's like just getting like a few local like people, like every weekend now and then you'll play at someone's place. Like that actually builds the community slowly. Like
for sure.
I know for Soul Calibur, like initially it was just like 4 of us at one guy's place, and then it became like 8, and then like for it was actually BlazBlue where this happened. Like, it was like 4 of us who were playing BlazBlue at one person's house, and then it became like 6, and then like suddenly we're like, well, we don't really have enough room in this place, so let's try find somewhere to go. So we went to Good Games, which is in Sydney. We went to the local Good Games and played there like on Friday nights. And like it just slowly builds up to a point where like you actually have these events that you go to.
Yeah, exactly. And then once you've got events going to and that kind of thing, that's where you can start to talk about like finding local sponsors or like being able to build up your scene so it can take part in the national community. Like yeah, it really does have like there are just multiple points of interaction but you need to get it started first, and it's just so rewarding when you do.
100%. Like local like support like folds into interstate and national support. So I've been saying for the longest time, we all need to support each other, especially being like part of the Australian FGC.
Like for example, also started off as just tournaments at a local arcade. It was just there was a arcade in Sydney called Playtime. They just have tournaments there. It was just small tournament thing, and it was just every now and then they'd have tournaments. It wasn't like Playtime actually was like going, oh, we want to have these tournaments. They just went there and said, can we like book these machines for a tournament at this time? We'll pay you this much for like having free play on these machines. And it just kind of went from there. Then they like started hiring out the local uni, like the cafeteria down there for events, and that was like one of the OHN, I think 9 was at a freaking university's cafeteria.
Yeah. Like not TFC, one of our big anime conventions down here in Tasmania, we host some fighting games, used to be at the university. Like,
well, that's the thing with what's it? South Australia Cross. That is almost always at Adelaide Uni.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like you just have these communities that build around things, and then the place where you are at is a bit too small, so you want to grow it, and then you start having these bigger events. You start hiring places. It grows from that initial. Do you guys want to come around and do this?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but you kind of have to get started though. Like you have to say.
All it takes is 2 people to start an offline meetup.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys, we're almost at the 2-hour mark. I don't know if there was anything else Soul Calibur related you guys want to discuss.
Let me check. Nah, I think that was probably about it for me.
Alright, guys.
Other than like, what's it? Evo Japan is in a couple of 3 weeks or so. So make sure you keep an eye out on that because that's going to have announcements. Nothing sure of.
All right.
Oh, I mean, there's also going to be great, amazing play there, which is
100%. Check that out as well.
Even that. Like, I would say last thing on Soul Calibur, like go out on Twitter and find a bunch of the big Soul Calibur players because they are a little bit less well known than other communities. Players like Sane, players like Linkors, players like Sandman, players, all of that kind of area. And then tune into tournaments. Like if you want to get into the game, if you're interested in Soul Calibur, watching high level play is approachable, interesting, well commentated, just really enjoyable.
Just in case you guys might know that, in case other people might, what are some well-known, maybe recurring tournaments to look out for? Like I know NLBC hosts Soul Calibur.
Yeah, every week on Wednesday night fights at NLBC.
And isn't Europe known to have like a very dedicated Soul Calibur scene?
Yeah, they're a bit worse at
organizing,
like advertising and organizing, but they do have an amazing scene
out there. The scenes that are really strong in Soul Calibur, you have New York for America. Yeah. Straight up, I'm just gonna say New York. Like,
yeah, it's New York.
It's the scene. You have Singapore.
Yep.
You have
France.
That's another scene. Europe is kind of like a combination of things. Like you have Belial in Russia, and then what's it? Kerrigan in Germany, I think. They play each other quite often. Japan has the I think it's like Mondays they do their scene. Every Monday they have something. It might be Monday, I'm not sure, but I know Japan does one weekly as well.
Yep.
So you can see some pretty good high level play from Japan every now and then.
Yep.
I haven't heard of many good players in England. I haven't heard of that community much.
I haven't heard much about England or the UK in general.
Philippines, I'm not sure. Korea has a really strong in Kura and Crazy Taki.
But you don't really see that streamed as much.
Yeah, they unfortunately they don't stream it. Singapore, Korea, and
New York.
No, New York streams. I'm saying the ones that don't stream.
Oh, okay.
Korea, Singapore doesn't stream very often. They do stream, but not very often. What's the other one? And Hong Kong. Hong Kong has a really good scene.
Yeah,
but they don't stream.
It's a bit of a weird one in that you've got these really strong scenes scattered all throughout the world. So whenever you have these major events that bring everyone together, it's really good seeing how the different scenes interact with each other. I think one that you didn't mention, Runaes, Japan. Japan is just nuts for Soul Calibur. But
I mentioned it a couple of times. I said Japan has streamed every Monday or something.
Oh yeah, they do from Giuna or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Giuna's whatever stream. I don't know when it is. I just know. I just see the VODs.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there are definitely a lot of scattered scenes. For example, not for this game, but for Soul Calibur 4 and Soul Calibur 5, Dominican Republic. Would you even think that there's a really strong player from the Dominican Republic?
Then again, if you look on the old YouTube VODs of old, Soul Calibur 5, Dominican Republic was nutty good.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Dominican Republic was crazy good at the game.
Yeah, it's just those. Yeah, it's one of those games where you can learn by playing, and you don't necessarily need a massive traveling, well-funded infrastructure to get good at the game. You see these people come out, and they're just sick. They're just amazing at these games, because they just put in a lot of work and play it a lot. It's just time invested, effort doesn't lie kind of situation.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that can be any scene, even ours. So, yeah.
Yeah, even ours.
Alright guys, we are at question time. Usually we reserve the end of the podcast for a few questions from myself or Ada from the chat. Until we get some from the chat, I'll start us off. For both of you, this is a recurring one that I ask guests. Can you name... I think I'll change this question up to most heartbreaking loss. I think I'll change it to most memorable saltiest loss within the FGC.
DWCC. I'm
what was it?
still salty about that match.
What's this? What's the?
I am still salty about that match. Okay, so
backstory, please.
Couch Warriors cross up. I managed to get to top 8. It
was
a really clutch. This was Soul Calibur, so it's Soul Calibur 6. So I just clutched out against Borgie to get into top 8. And then my first opponent is Theo, the guy who I said should have been first seed because he was slated to win.
Yeah.
I lost 2 rounds in a row quite convincingly. Down to Pixel almost dead. managed to turn it around and then sweep him 6 rounds straight. Get to grand finals, I go against CEO. I don't know what changed, but I was salty as hell, and I lost. Like, I didn't even get around on him. I just lost.
Watching that match was hard. I was sitting watching it on stream, and it was, you could see you like mentally broke. Like he was in your head. It was a hard match to watch.
Yeah, on a casual.
Like, if I could do that match again, I probably would have won it. But like, at the time, okay, so I actually know why I. So, before I got to that, I was playing in Dragon Ball with Fenrich, and my hitbox had issues. So there's a stream against Fenrich where you see me crouching, but I'm not blocking.
Right.
That's because I couldn't block. So I was playing a Dragon Ball match that I couldn't block in. I could hit up, and every now and then forward or backward work, but I couldn't consistently block.
Oh, wow.
Right. That's a tilter.
Yeah.
That tilted me so hard.
Yeah.
Like, you could hear the commentators going, oh, he's on tilt, he's like just randomly DPing. Like, no, I was DPing because that was the only thing I could do in that situation.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
How
about yourself,
me,
Athorell?
most saltiest loss. In tournament or not?
Oh, you can give examples of both if you would like to.
Out of tournament, just sitting playing online. Like, sitting playing online will instantly make me salty in fighting games. I don't know what it is. Like, I hate... Like,
no, dude, I share that with you 100%, brother. Anyone that's turned into my streams would think I am a monster in person, but I'm quite the opposite.
I've got that too. It's like, people meet me, they're like, you're just much, like, nicer than I thought you'd be, because they're used to me being like, in the Discord, just capital letters, how the fuck that kind of bullshit. Like, Runaes has probably been on the receiving end of this a few times. Like, we can have conversations like this pretty nicely, but I'll play against his Songminar online and just hit him up in the Discord being like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Oh, no, see, in the anime community, I'm known as the heel of BlazBlue.
As the what,
The
sorry?
one now, sorry?
Heel.
Okay.
Heel, yeah.
So I'm like the ultimate villain of that game.
I love playing into that, though. Like, I do that at our local down here in Tassie. Like,
so, like, when I see people, like, completely salty, I'm just, like, I just love it. Like,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
as I said, the first time I got my salty message from Athorell Reloaded, I was just loving it. I'm like, oh,
Does that guy still play?
I don't think so.
Hmm.
But I was just like, oh, I finally got a hate mail from someone. Because I was playing that game. Like, I play pretty degenerately in that game, in Soul Calibur. Like, I'm pretty degenerate online against some things. And then I finally got my first hate mail. And I think, I think the first one wasn't Athorell Reloaded. The first one was, I posted it to Twitter with, the salty...
Like,
Yeah, I remember it. I
Yeah.
remember it. I remember it.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think if you want hate mail, we're on the wrong platform. Yeah, it's more of a console thing.
It is.
Yeah, 100%. I like, even as an Astaroth player, the amount of ringouts I've done, if I was on PS4, like, it would just my mailbox would be loaded.
Yeah.
I've like PS4. PS3. I got so much hate mail for 5, and so much hate mail for 4.
I can imagine.
I definitely got used to get it a lot more for Tekken than I do for Soul Calibur. Saltiest in-tournament loss for me would probably be, there was one tournament, it'd be 2 years ago now, like end of 2016, where I was hungover and Sammy T just steved as a verb and just steamrolled me, like reverse swept me. He reset me, and then I was up 2-0 and he came back and beat me 3-2, and I was just so tilted by the end of it that I was just like, oh man. Like, I just like put my controller on the ground, was like, that sucked, shook his hand, and immediately went home and like, made him curry.
Oh wow!
I was like, I'm gonna go home and eat and not talk to anyone for a day. Fuck this. Like, yeah, those kind of losses. But yeah, that's probably the saltiest I've been in tournament. I don't think I've been salty in tournament in a long time. So.
Interesting. Yeah, we're all mature now. But
yeah. No,
it's just a question. It's just a question I like to ask. This is a reoccurring question and theme from Juicy Penguin. He's very interested in the diet choice of our FGC competitors. What do you eat for breakfast on tournament days?
I don't actually know what I eat. Usually, it's like I'll go for a big breakfast at a cafe nearby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Like I'll find a good cafe nearby, wake up early, and get a big breakfast.
Yeah, I want to be at the venue early, so it's usually like go to a cafe, get some like scrambled eggs and bacon and all that kind of stuff.
All right, I have a more heated question. Heated depending on who you are and how this list comes about. Can you guys, even though we haven't had a major for Soul Calibur 5, can you guys, to your own opinion, give a top 5 list of who you guys think are the top 5 players at the moment?
In Australia?
Yep, in Australia.
Myself, Ath, what's his name from who plays Maxi? We were talking about him. I can't.
Travioli.
Tomo would be top 5 probably, possibly. Or even though he's like quote unquote doesn't play the game anymore.
Classic Tomo.
The Queensland guys, I want to say that they're really good, but I haven't seen them come out yet, so I don't really know.
I've also seen like they've kind of dropped off. Like I would have a while ago, I would have said Dale is in there, in that club, but now I don't know if I could be sure.
See, like I was gonna say Speedline Steve, but like he completely dropped the game. So
the other one that I think would be in the discussion is KRS.
Oh, KRSMB definitely, but if he goes out, that's the problem.
I'm talking about online as well. Anyone who's
online as well. Yeah, KRSMB definitely.
Okay. KRSM for me to be KRSMB, Travioli, Runaes. I'm just trying to think about who I like regret. Like whenever I see them pop up, I'm like, why have I played this game?
This can be a personal vibe as well. It doesn't have to be objective. Yeah. Like if you lose to a lot of specific Ivy players, Athorell.
Usually I beat Ivy now. Like I learned that matchup so well from playing like in lobbies where I just rotated Sammy T and Dale all day.
I was gonna say Sammy, but then Sammy's apparently dropped the game from what Ath said.
Yeah,
so.
Really?
He hasn't dropped the game. No, I haven't been.
He's not like playing it as much.
But he's not like practicing.
Come TFC, that'll change for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I don't know. My list would probably be pretty similar to Runaes. Myself, Runaes, KRSMB, what's his name, Travioli, and then some mix of like Dale, Tomo.
I just realized that I forgot Zuzu.
Oh, I've never played Zuzu, so I wouldn't be able to talk about him.
He's always been a very good player. Plays Tira, low tier, then she got buffed.
Yeah, I've seen him deathmatch you. I don't know. There's a lot of players who I think are about who I've seen on stream at locals and that kind of thing who I haven't been able to play online, and obviously they're not in Tassie, so I just wouldn't be able to comment on them.
Oh, good.
But I'd say that'd be my top 5.
Question from Gel, another spicy one. Who's your most infuriating character to face in Soul Calibur 6 for whatever reason?
It was Ivy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right
I would have
now,
said rather than Ivy before, I would have said Aswell, but now he's nerfed, not at all.
Well, I never had issues with Aswell because I could reach him anyway.
Yeah, whereas Siegfried's movement kind of sucks, so I ended up playing Chase.
So Mina actually had a lethal hit against Backdash, so Aswell couldn't just like get away with that for free.
I am going to... I know who would be my most fucking hated character. I think Voldo has to be up there for me.
Probably. Like, Voldo's kind of annoying.
I feel like that... Oh, no, sorry. I'm an idiot. Maxi. Maxi 100%. Purely because I don't know how to play against the fucking...
Okay, yeah. I agree with that. I agree with 100%.
The problem with Siegfried in that matchup, Siegfried has the worst backdash in Soul Calibur. So a lot of characters, like when I'm playing Grow, Maxi has like his fake string stance transition stuff, and it's like high-low, but you can sidestep or backdash out of it. Siegfried can't backdash far enough in a single backdash to escape it, so he just gets hit. So Maxi, I think, easily tops that list.
Interesting.
I mean, obviously, if Inferno was like valid, then I would say Inferno, because I'm not sure if you've ever faced that character.
He's just broken.
He's just broken.
Yeah, but he's intentionally broken. He's a boss monster.
Yeah.
Last question for me. Any tournament internationally you can play Soul Calibur at this year, if you had the means and the time, which one would you go to?
NEC, I think, for me.
Well, I'm already going to EVO Japan, but NEC.
NEC specifically for Soul Calibur, I'd say it's NEC because that's where all the European and Japanese players travel out to America.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I would say EVO because it's got other games that I also play that I want to enter in.
But specifically for Soul Calibur.
Specifically for Soul Calibur, yeah, NEC for sure.
Interesting. NEC also has like a bit of a like.
I did not know
it's for the Soul Calibur players, so everyone's gonna be out there like getting to know each other and being like, "Hey, you're from here. You play Soul Calibur." Fuck that.
Yeah.
I got a question for Athorell. When are you coming back to beat us again at cooldown this class? I'll be coming back. I've got to start a new job, so once I have settled into that new job, I'll be coming back to locals.
Yeah, I noticed that Sammy T was creeping up on your place rank.
Yeah. I think it's pretty impressive that even after I haven't gone to locals for a little while, Sammy's only creeping up on me.
Wow. Shout outs to Tassie community at large. Get your game up. Get your game up.
Well, no, like he was creeping up, and then and then his rank dropped. He was first at some point.
Yeah, I reckon my like rank is probably expired in our seeding system. I've been out of it for a little bit. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Seems like we got one more question. Is it time for Geralt Main of Oz to make his? Okay. I don't know if that's a legitimate question.
Oh, it's Risen.
Risen used to be like pretty active. Look, Risen, if you get back into it, we can both help Runaes practice for Evo.
I was making a comment on how the Sydney scene basically died immediately. Like, we had a decent scene, like, for offline, and then no one, like, they just left. Risen is one of the people who just decided to disappear for, like, I don't know.
Where'd you go?
Where'd you go, Risen?
Nah, Tazzy stuck around for a good long time, but Tazzy's got, like, a pretty solid core group, and then it kind of fluctuates around.
See, what I want to know is, I know I don't want to go in deep into this topic, this was because we're ending, but how many players actually have Soul Calibur as their main game?
In Tassie, not many. I'd say it's probably me and then both Lim and I, who were the best Soul Calibur players for a while. Both of us finished uni at the same time, so we've been time poor.
Is that the same case with Sydney Runaes?
Sydney has myself and Zuzu. That's it.
And like
no one else actually takes the game seriously.
Okay, interesting. Well, I feel like that you'll see good numbers at the majors. That's always been my feel.
Yeah, I feel like
you saw it at YSB. Like I was dicking around with 2B because like I didn't feel threatened by anyone, and then moment I lost a round in grand finals, I'm like, whatever, I'll go Mina, and RB immediately made the comment, "Oh, this is over."
Yeah, like it was the same for me with Grow. Like I was playing Grow in tournaments before I went and was kind of just dicking around, and then as soon as I lost a round, I'd swap to Sig and then win. Like, I feel like when you get to that point with scenes, it can be kind of unhealthy.
Yeah.
Like you're just a lot better than everyone who's competing with you, and so it ends up being a bit like degenerate for everyone involved.
Depends on the way you approach that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Whether it's like, are you practicing your second character, or are you kind of just like, these people,
I feel like
I can play my second best character because I know I can still win with it.
Like I feel it's on the onus on both, like the people underneath the person to try and level up for that hunger. But they gotta have the hunger. They gotta have the hunger. If
that's
not,
it. That's it for me.
If they got the hunger, then it's worth sticking around and helping them to supersede you, or hopefully.
That's what. Totally. Like, if you have players who are, like, constantly at your heels if you're a top player, then that's really motivating. Like, that happened in Tekken for me. Like, I was winning for a very, very long time, and then Bottles, who's one of our local Tassie players, started coming out to tournaments, and he got really good really quick and started competing with me in tournaments, and I ended up playing Tekken a hell of a lot more because I had someone to compete with.
Yeah.
But, like, if you're not getting that in your local scene, then a lot of the time,
it can be tough.
It gets a bit sedentary.
Yeah, 100% relate to that.
That's one of the reasons why the Sydney BlazBlue scene is so strong, is because we have 3 players who are very much equal skill. So it's kind of just, you wouldn't have just the same person dominating. Like, you have to actually like, try to improve over those other two, and like your winner wouldn't be the same every week because one person could beat the other at any point.
Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you can turn up to a tournament and not necessarily know, but if you can say like, oh, such and such is probably gonna win, then like that's when you need people who are like coming into the scene and people who are like striving and really practicing to get better.
All right, guys.
Alrighty.
We'll pass it to our Mark. Thank you very much for all guys who tuned in. Thanks to our guests. Athorell, Runaes, do you guys want to give shout-outs before we end? To anyone?
Yeah, massive shout-out to Sammy T at Cooldown Esports, and shout-out to Cooldown Esports in general for keeping the Tassie scene afloat and going. Shout-outs to Area 52, our previous host, and a big Tassie business who are absolutely lovely to us all the time. And, yeah, I think that'll do it for me.
I'm going to do shout-outs to Stefan at BKB, Barcat Bunker, Sydney's... basically the Cooldown Esports of Sydney. Like, Stefan set up his little shop in the western suburbs of Sydney, and basically it's just fighting games. Like, it's so good for the scene to have a shop that you can just every now and then go to, and like every fighting game scene has a day that they all go, and it's just nice to be able to like say, okay, I play this game, I can go on this day to this place and just play casually. Shoutouts to the Otaru crew, YSB and BRB. So YSB being York Street Battles, BRB being Bankstown Runbacks. So there is a YSB on next month on the 9th of February. So not this Saturday, but the Saturday after is YSB. Risen, you need to be there.
See you guys at that one as well.
Yeah, Risen.
Is that it? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so that's probably it for me.
All right. If you guys, I don't know how active you guys are on Twitter, but just for the sake of it, if you want to give out so people can follow what you're doing.
Yep. Taz Athorell on Twitter. Taz like Tasmania, Athorell like it is on the stream.
Mine is at Runaes FGC, so RUNIS FGC.
Was that because AIES was taken?
No, it's because my actual nick was Runaes, but then there is some guy out in Afghanistan or one of those Middle Eastern nations who decided to have the name Runaes, blocked me on so many different things from getting that name. I'm like, who is this person?
Oh, wow.
So Runaes is actually because someone else stole my name.
And yeah, follow me on Twitter if you like D&D as well. I do post a lot of D&D like homebrew content and stuff related to teaching as well. So yeah, come check it out.
And for anyone in the Australian scene that's looking to get some help with Soul Calibur content, be sure to check out the Oceanic Soul Calibur community Discord.
I'm going to post a link to that in the Discord in just a second.
And I'll have it as a link in the related links that I do once I post this up on Podbean and iTunes. So be sure to check that out if you want help with anything Soul Calibur related. That's it from me. Make sure you guys, if you want some hungry for some Soul Calibur action and FGC action in general, to check out the upcoming major in Tasmania, Tassie FighterCon. It's happening March 17th from memory. 15th to 17th. Be sure there's registration still available, so be sure to check that out. If you're in New Zealand,
there might be some pretty nice pot bonuses in there just on the down low for anyone debating whether or not they're going to come down.
Ooh, nice. And even if that's not your primary motivator, come check out the Tassie scene because they're all hella fun and cool. But yeah.
Also, it's the only place in where you can get banjos.
Oh, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, I'm sure. Julian. He's gonna be in Japan soon, but he said if he can make Tassie FighterCon, he's keen. But yeah, that's it from me. Thanks again, guys, for jumping on. Very much appreciated. Athorell,
thanks very much for the invite and for having me.
Yes, thanks for having us.
No worries. We'll catch you guys soon on the next episode of the Beatcast. Catch you later.
See you later.